Well, isn't this a great day? And thank you all for being here. There are seats right up here, some in the back, so please be comfortable. And the microphone is working. So thank you for being here. My name is Marlene Asalta with the Southern New Jersey Development Council. Just a quick thank you to our guest, Senator Testa and Palestina. Thank you, Assemblywoman Swift, Assemblyman Guardian McClellan, and Simonson. Thank you all for being here. We have a title sponsor this morning who you will meet in a few minutes, but thank you, Roy Lindstein from Legacy. Thank you for being with us. And from PSCG Nuclear, Jim Gilroy. Thank you, Jim. And Stokes Creative Group, who is on the camera, or cameras. And we also have some elected officials, Buena Borough Mayor David Zapparillo. Where'd you go, Dave? There you are. Cape May County Chamber, not an elected official, but a partner to us, Barbara Stafford Jones. Barbara, thank you for being here. Good luck to you in your new job. Commissioner Joyce Molyneux, Casino Control Commission. Where's Joyce? Oh, there you are, Joyce. And State Chamber, familiar face to all of us, and our partner, Mike Egginton. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Gaba. Most of you know, of course, that she is the 9th president of Atlantic Cape Community College. Her vision for the college is to become the region's preferred choice for higher education and professional training, and to serve as the leading catalyst for economic and workforce development. Isn't that a phrase that we've all heard so often? Yes, why we're here. Thank you very much, Dr. Gaba.
Thank you so much. I think I'm going to need some help with this. Again, good morning, everyone. It's so good to see all of you, to see many of you again. Many of you I saw last week, and it's so good that you are here to join us. As president of Atlantic Cape Community College, I'm very pleased to welcome you this morning to the SNJDC Meet the Legislators event. And we really would like to thank you for coming and for being right here in our student-run restaurant, Kareem's. We are honored to again host the SNJDC and our esteemed legislators from the 1st and 2nd districts. We appreciate all the support we have received from our legislators in District 1 and District 2 for all the initiatives we have going on at the college. A special thanks to Marlene Asalta, President, for inviting Atlantic Cape to host this event here on our Mays Landing campus for the 2nd year in a row. Many of you were here last year, and it was so successful. We're so glad to host you and to have you back. Today's convening will provide a forum for discussion to discuss issues that matter to all of us, including the economic health and growth of our region. I'd also like to acknowledge members of our Atlantic Cape Community College Board of Trustees, Trustee Christina Clemens, Trustee Daniel Money, who are also here today. Before we begin the program, I'd like to take the opportunity to brief you on some of the key updates that we have going on at the college right now. As the first institution of higher education, we were the first in Atlantic and Cape May counties, we continued what we started in 1966, providing accessible, high-quality education in a variety of formats that meet the students, that we prepare students for transfer to a four-year college or to go into the workforce. As you know, we have 3 campuses in Mays Landing, Atlantic City, Cape May Courthouse. And we are proud to have the distinction of being an anchor institution in Atlantic City by the state of New Jersey, due to the college's contribution to the revitalization of Atlantic City. We offer 43 associate degree programs, online short-term certificates, and our top programs are in culinary, which is right here, our nursing program, and our business programs. Our ESL programs, community education, and customized workforce training programs are also very, very popular. In fact, our Casino Career Institute in Atlantic City will be celebrating its 45th anniversary this year, so you'll be hearing more about that. This past year, we were certified as an Achieving the Dream Leader College, a national recognition. And this organization, ATD, is dedicated to advancing colleges as hubs of equity and mobility in the communities to improve outcomes for all students. So we're very, very pleased to have that designation. I'm proud to say that we've always worked effectively with our partners in Atlantic and Cape May counties, local workforce development boards, chambers of commerce, high schools, and community government and business entities to tailor our workforce development and degree programs to ensure that we are providing the necessary skills for in-demand jobs at this time. With that said, I'd like to highlight you on 3 initiatives that we are working on here in Atlantic Cape, and we are confident that they will expand career pathways for us. First is our Innovation Center. About 2 weeks ago, we held our ribbon cutting for our Innovation Center here in Mays Landing, and I think that several of you were there last week. I know that quite a few of you were there. Our legislators were there for that grand opening, and again, we express our warm appreciation for that. The Innovation Center will house several of our new academic programs, including cybersecurity, game design and development, esports, as well as our esports team, and they're going to be competing nationally. I am confident that the Innovation Center will provide our students with the technology and educational opportunities they need to succeed in their chosen fields. Like technology, the workforce landscape is always changing, and emerging new careers and industry-led qualification, and it's imperative that we keep up as a college with the latest industry demands and trends. And this Innovation Center is just one example of us delivering industry standards for our students. And for those of you who have not seen our Innovation Center, as you exit here today, if you go to the right and just continue down the path, you'll be able to see it. The second initiative that we have is our Wind Training Center, which is located at our Worthington Atlantic City campus. In 2021, Atlantic Cape was awarded $3 million before the New Jersey Offshore Wind Safety and Sea Survival Training Challenge Grant to establish the industry-recognized Global Wind Organization Safety Training Program and facility to prepare New Jersey incumbent workers for jobs in the state's growing offshore wind industry. And opening later in 2023, this incredibly important training for the offshore wind industry is one of the pieces that will help to upskill our incumbent workers. And lastly, in Cape May County, we are partnering with the Cape May County Zoo to offer our popular zoo education program on our Cape May campus. And these are just few of the program highlights that we have going on at Atlantic Cape, and we will keep you posted. In closing, as we move forward, Atlantic Cape will continue to rise to meet the needs of our students, the residents we serve, and our local and educational industry leaders. We appreciate all of your support for our community, and again, we thank our legislators for all that you've done to support the college. So on that note, thanks again, Marlene, to the Southern New Jersey Development Council for the work that you are doing and for bringing us together to support workforce development and to strengthen our economy. So before I close, I would just like to mention that our largest fundraising event for student scholarships, our restaurant gala, will be held on March the 9th. And I know that many of you have already signed up to attend, but I hope to see many of you there that evening. So again, thank you, and we're looking forward to a wonderful convening today and a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good morning.
All right, thanks for coming out. Really appreciate it. My name is Roy Lightstein. If I haven't met you before, I'm the CEO of Legacy Treatment Services. Legacy is a large-scale nonprofit behavioral health organization. I'm not going to use a lot of my time because sometimes when we have 6 politicians to speak, they like a lot of time. So we're going to concede most of that to them. I can tell you this much, though. We serve about 20,000 people a year. And they're the most vulnerable citizens in the state of New Jersey. And that might be folks that you know. That's folks that struggle with mental health. That's folks that struggle with addiction treatment. That's folks that need social services. And Atlantic and Cape counties are some of our strongest, most prolific counties. So we partner with Shore Medical Center. We have outpatients just in Northfield. We were just awarded a CCBHC. I don't know why social services and behavioral health care love acronyms, but that's a certified community behavioral health center. It's integrated care, right? So primary care, mental health, substance abuse, all in one place. We never turn folks away if they don't have insurance. We see about 20,000 people a year. In fact, in 2023, we're partnering with Cape Regional, and we'll be opening up an outpatient location right inside of Cape Regional Hospital, right? And so I just want to make note, I've got a colleague in the room, Kendria from Maryville, right? A phenomenal addiction treatment provider, right? And so, in my industry, we got a couple of folks that think that we're competitors, but the truth is more people need our help than ever. And so I thank everybody for coming out today. Marlene, thanks as always for the opportunity to sponsor this. And so anybody who's got any questions about Legacy, what we do, we've got about 65 programs. Like I said, we see about 20,000 people a year. Please don't hesitate to talk to myself or Nick this morning. But, also, Marlene, I really want to thank you for this podium. Given my particular stature, I love the fact that this blocks the majority of my physique here. And Dr. Gaba, thanks again for hosting us. What a beautiful environment for us to have our conversation this morning, because the truth is, it's forums like this that help us move forward as a community together, understanding that economic development is really what drives the future of our communities, right? So without further ado, I am going to be brutal this morning when it comes to time limits. Not because that's my nature, but because Marlene threatened me before I got up here. So we're going to start with our esteemed legislators from the 2nd District, and we're going to ask Assemblywoman Claire Swift to come and address our membership. Assembly Swift is in her first term representing the 2nd District and serves on the Human Services, Labor and Law, and Public Safety Committees.
Thank you for that intro. Thank you, Marlene, for putting this together, Dr. Gaba. It's a pleasure to be here today. I can't believe it's been a year since we were here. A year ago, our kids were still wearing masks in school. So we have come a long way. And yes, I am on the Labor Committee. I am also on Human Services. I'm also on Law and Public Safety. And we are very busy up in Trenton. We are working on some bills right now to deal with this juvenile bail reform. I know Senator Testa is also working on that, because we are going into the summer season. We live in shore communities, and we can't let these juveniles run free. My brother is a Margate police officer. They're struggling to get these juveniles under control. So we're working on those bills to help businesses down the shore and inland, because we want kids to have an opportunity and not have a record, destroy their future. I know that very well because I do a lot of expungements, but we have to get this under control. I'm also working on a heroin bill where if you have a certain amount, it doesn't go by weight, it goes by quantity. If you have 100 bags of heroin, that's just way too much. So one bag can kill one person. I don't think I have to tell you, you read the obituaries every day. People are dying from heroin and fentanyl. Basically, that's what I'm working on with Law and Public Safety. Obviously, labor, we're working on getting people back to work, getting rid of regulations. I just want to tell you that we also, at our legislative office, have helped over 7,000 constituents in 1 year. We've helped people with unemployment, we've helped them with DMV, and a variety of issues. You'd be surprised how many people call our office for simple questions. So we've helped a lot of people. We're very proud of that. We work with legislative team, the LD1 team, LD2. We are a family. We really work hard together, and we have similar issues. So I'm very happy to be here today and very proud to be working with this team, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Assemblywoman. And make that 7,001. I had to bring a car back to Boardwalk Acura, and I had to turn around in your parking lot because I passed it. So there you go. That's right. So next, please welcome her district mate, and no stranger to anybody in the room, Assemblyman Don Guardian, who served as mayor in Atlantic City from 2014 to 2018. And if you ask him, those will be the best 4 years in Atlantic City's history. He'll tell you himself. He serves on the Environment and Solid Waste Committee, Special Committee on Infrastructure and Natural Resources, and the Tourism, Gaming, and the Arts Committee. Come on up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So just give me 1 minute to talk about education, a history of where we've come in just 100 years. It's really pretty spectacular. So if we're sitting here 100 years ago, unless our father or grandfather went to college, there's no way we were getting in unless the family were buying them a new building. And then luckily with college scoreboards, we were able to give everyone the ability, if they were bright enough, to go to college. And then after World War II, the major change with the GI Bill letting everyone get into college. And then about 60 years ago, between the Civil Rights Act and what it has been able to do with bringing everyone back into schools, and of course the formation of county colleges, which at the time was simply a good way because they realized that education at some point would exceed what our ability to pay for it was. And so county colleges was really just that 2-year liberal arts college. But I'm so proud to be part of Atlantic County and see where you're going. Dr. Gaba, I mean, preparing for the future. Because we can't complain if we're looking for new forms of energy if we haven't given our students the skills that are going to be able to get that job. And esports and all the points that you brought. It was great to be here last year. Let me just concentrate on 3 bills because each of these issues seem to be important because they're discussed at almost every meeting we go to, and the 3 of us try to get to 4 or 5 meetings a week. To hear everybody in all 17 towns. So first one, all-terrain vehicles. I think we all know what they are. It's what everyone's complaining about, whether you're in an urban environment and they're terrorizing people who are trying to sit on their porch or wait for a bus, or you're in more suburban areas where they're terrorizing you as you're driving, or you're in the rural areas where they're actually ripping up the road. There is the ability for police to take action. The problem is no cop is going to chase someone on an ATR because they're afraid that someone's going to get hurt. So we had that legislation. The problem is if you can't chase them, how do you control it? And so our bill is providing $1 million to any county who has a prosecutor who's willing to work with individual police departments. So, Pleasantville Police Department can tell you that they're leaving a garage and tell you when they cross the county line into Egg Harbor Township or into Galloway. And then the Galloway police will know they're coming, and at some point, because you're all working together through the prosecutor's office, when they stop, you can arrest them and seize the vehicle. So that bill's going through. I'm glad to say that a co-sponsor is going to be Assemblyman from Camden County, a Democrat, so we have a good chance of getting that passed. The second thing I wanted to talk to is, I remember 10 years ago I had met with casino owners and casino presidents. I said, guys, just hang on. There are going to be new types of gambling coming on board. We're going to have sports gaming. We're going to have internet gaming. They'll really make a difference. Of course, since nobody knew what they were, everyone told me that it didn't matter. But certainly 10 years later, we know where that's been. Half the line of the gaming is now coming from those. And so I'm very happy to tell you that's already out of committee. But I've sponsored esports that will be restricted to those companies that own brick and mortar in Atlantic City or own one of the 3 racetracks in New Jersey. So they'll be the only ones that have the skins. I think esports is going to be the future, both in gaming, but more importantly, the jobs that are created. And I'm not talking about people just serving food or running those booths. I'm talking about the smart people sitting at a computer that's going to make it safe worldwide. So we're not just talking about esports in New Jersey, we're talking about esports worldwide coming to New Jersey. And the last one, for the last 30 years, I've been trying to be involved in how to make Atlantic City a little bit safer. And it's not just an Atlantic City issue, it's all of our issues. And several years ago, we realized that people that are committing crime or maybe are strictly homeless have a substance abuse issue or a problem with alcohol. And so we were able to develop drug courts, which just gave the judge the ability not to just throw them in jail, give them an option of some type of services. Today, we realize that it's beyond that. So why are they affected by substance abuse? And it usually deals with mental health. And so we have a bill, and when I say a bill, all of us on the Assembly and Senate line are working together on it, but it'll create a new court system, which will be for mental health. Mental health courts, it'll give the judge the ability to spend a couple of days having the individual tested to see if there's an issue, and then giving the individual the opportunity not to go to county, but to go into a program that's going to help. So I think it's our next level of services that we can provide, and I think you'll see a direct result in helping both the homeless, not the entire answer for that or for crime, but I think it'll help. So those are the 3 bills now. I know I've got 4 people after me, so I'll be here afterwards and things. I think it's the first time I've come to Kareem's that there's not like some spectacular food that you're putting in front of us and things. So, it just looks like another college. So
That's a good hint, Assemblyman. That was a
yes.
very good hint. I like
Thank
that.
you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman. Since we're here at Atlantic County College, I have to say I started my educational career. You reminded me because I'm old now, but I was in the Army. I was in the infantry. Right, college was not an option for me. I couldn't afford it, and I started at Hopkinsville Community College. Right, so now I have my master's degree. But if it wasn't for community college, and if it wasn't for the Army College Fund and the GI Bill, I'm not standing here today, by any chance. And so now let's move to the first legislative district. And Assemblyman Antoine McClellan has served in the Assembly since 2020 and was recently sworn in for a second time. He serves on the Appropriations Committee, Homeland Security and State Preparedness Committee, and the Tourism, Gaming, and Arts Committee.
Good morning. Good morning. Let's try that again. Good morning. Good morning. Feels good to be out and about and, no mask and being able to see everybody's smiling face. Last year was a great time also. We got to meet with Dr. Gaba in our office and talk about the innovations that we were creating. And now it's come to fruition. So we see how progress works and the great things that you're doing in Cape May County, the best county in the state. No, but we work very well with Legislative District 2. It's very important that we're fighting for the real South Jersey down here. And that's what we continue to do. So we call one another, we talk to one another on the floor, we make sure that we collaborate on our bills and things of that nature. So on the crime bill that the 2 Assembly people from 2 are working on, we're on that bill also because we have that same common issue with teens. And we know our senators are working together also. We have another bill that I'm working on. It's called the Pop-Up Party Bill. As most of you are aware, there was a tragedy in Wildwood in September with a car rally that came to our neck of the woods, and police weren't able to talk. We weren't prepared for that. So this pop-up party bill is going to allow the police to communicate, take effect, take those cars that came in, impound those cars, and they have to be towed out. So they can't go in and just pay for it to get that car out of there. They have to tow that car out. Also, that person can get jailed and also will be fined $1,000. So that is going to prevent them from coming back. And I would like to say that was my bill and it was my thought process, but it wasn't. We got it from Ocean City, Maryland. And Ocean City, Maryland had the same problem that we had. So we were able to talk to them with Mayor Tim Donahue and our county commissioners, and we came together and collaborated, and we took that bill, and that bill is now on, and hopefully we can get that to the floor and get voted on here so we can protect our shores. It's not just a Cape May County problem, it's not an Atlantic County problem, it's a statewide problem. So anytime you see a group of 25 people or more that are gathering, and it's not state issued or municipality issued, that we can call the police and we can call Transportation Authority and they can come and stop that. So those are the things that we're trying to collaborate and make sure that happens. Also, I'm still continuing to push that tourism tax dollars. Cape May County, $650 million that we send up to Trenton every year, and we get $4 million back. So Essex County continues to send them $4 million, and they get $6 million back. So where's it fair at? It doesn't make any sense. We want to make sure that we get in what we put in, and that's how we protect our counties and protect our districts. And so we're still fighting to get that heard into tourism. Myself and Assemblyman Guardian are on tourism committee together, and we talk about a lot of things, and we know how important tourism is to our community. We know how important our community colleges are. We know how important our universities are. We have a lot of things down here in South Jersey that they don't care about or they don't realize are going on, north of us. And it's more important that we share the things that we do for this state so we can get the rewards that we are giving them. And that's what we're going to continue to fight for. So I know when we got elected first, we didn't have the help that we have now. And it's great that we can collaborate and talk to people that care and also know how to work across the aisle to get these things done and express the needs that we have here, because they forget about us, and we're tired of that. So we're going to celebrate ACCC, and we're going to celebrate the great things that Dr. Gaba and her staff are continuing to do. We're going to celebrate the real South Jersey down here and celebrate the great things that our businesses are doing for us and how we keep people employed and the things that we do that are exciting. We protect our kids, we celebrate our seniors, and that's what we're going to continue to do and continue to thrive here in South Jersey. So as long as you have the 6 of us elected, you know you have fighters and you have a great team that care and love one another, and we love the places that we live, and we love the people that we serve. So God bless you, God bless the real South Jersey, and God bless ACCC.
Now that's a tough act to follow. So thank you, Assemblyman McClellan. Next up, I want to welcome Assemblyman Eric Simonson, who, like Assemblyman McClellan, began his service in the Assembly in 2020 and was also re-elected last November for a second term. He currently serves on the Community Development and Affairs Committee, the Education Committee, as well as the State and Local Government Committee. Was I not? You want some more compliments?
No, that's
Yeah,
good.
fantastic.
That's
He has a full head of hair.
That's less stuff I got to talk about, so I'll be shorter that way. Shorter, no pun intended, Antoine. Anyway, yes, I'm also on the Joint Education Committee with Senator Testa, as we serve obviously the education community of all of New Jersey. But this is my third. I know I don't look it. I know these guys look older than me, but it's my 30th year in education. So I've served as a teacher for a long time with students with disabilities, as well as been an administrator for, I guess, over 12 years now as a supervisor, a vice principal, and an athletic director. In fact, my mentor is over here, Dan Money. Thanks, Dan. And as an administrator. And, you know, we look forward to working with ACCC as we have been. And I know I work at a high school that the kids can actually earn credits through their community college right here, either in Atlantic County or Cape May County, because we have both campuses. You know, and we look forward. I know Assemblyman McClellan didn't mention it, but we work with faith-based services as well. We talk to local pastors. We work with our Safe Communities groups, and I know Assemblyman McClellan's been a big part of that. We go around and talk to different, of all denominations. It doesn't matter. We think it's the faith is very important, as you heard. And along with that, we support our youth-based services within our schools. Obviously, as an educator, that's a big deal, and a big deal for all of us that we've all been working together to support. We actually saved funding for our youth-based services in the high schools in New Jersey, and we'll continue to do that. You know, we work with a lot of different, there's a lot of, you juggle a lot of balls when you're in the Assembly and the Senate. So along with our day jobs, I mean, I've served as a council member and a mayor of Lower Township and now in the Assembly. You know, our day jobs, you know, are one thing, and then we have all of the serving the community as well. And that's something that, you know, we've been advocates for our youth. As you heard some of the bills that were talked about, I'm working on a bill now with organizations to help our out-of-school youth get the proficiency that they need to get high school diplomas. And that's, you know, our disadvantaged youth, our behavioral youth. I've worked in an alternative school and worked with a lot of the young people, because that's where it starts. You know, and I always brag that I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican, so you know, the one quote that I love to use, and I live by it, is that it's easier to build strong children than it is to fix broken men, and that's the truth. And that's a lot of the bills that we're putting forth. You know, it's not about jamming up youth. It's not about, but when our police, we support our police, when they can't go to a parent when their child gets in trouble, that's a problem. When they can't notify a parent that their child's out drinking or using marijuana or other drugs or other substances, that's a real problem. And that's one of the major problems we're having. And it kind of goes hand in hand with some of the other things we've talked about, the pop-up parties and such. So, you know, we continue to work not to disband our youth in a bad light or in a bad way, but to help our law enforcement, so that we can build better children and better communities, because they're our future. And you know, again, education has been obviously 30 years of my life. So working on bills to help our veterans. We have a real shortage. Obviously, you've heard about the teacher shortage, but as an athletic director, there's a real coaching shortage and referee shortage in the state. And obviously, you've seen some of the horrible things that have happened. So it takes a lot of guts, and you know, you got to be brave to go out there, put yourself out there. Some of them don't even have kids involved themselves, but they put themselves out every day to serve the community. And one of the bills I've had that I'm working on is, if a veteran has served 4 years honorably in the armed forces, they should be able to coach at a local high school or a junior high without the 60 credits. Because I know I've had coaches that dropped out after 2 years of college. They could coach, but we have someone honorably discharged after 4 years of service or longer that can't coach our youth. And what better, you know, role models than our veterans that have served honorably. And you know, we continue to support also the teachers. Some of the overbearing assessments that are put on our teachers. There's a teacher shortage. There's a reason there's a teacher shortage, because it's very difficult. We were lucky enough, we got rid of the NJTPA, which was a huge disadvantage. We had talked to teachers that moved from other states that were already certified teachers, did their student teaching, and then had to go through this whole process again in New Jersey. So we've recently gotten rid of that. We all work together to help with that, and we'll continue to serve our communities. And you know, our job is to help out our tourism community, which is huge down here, and that goes for both districts, because you know, we work together on everything. Our small businesses, we have our manufacturers here, clean energy, all the different things, our small businesses and our families. And you know, we'll continue to support ACCC, Dr. Gaba, and your board. Obviously, our door's always open. You all have we love giving out our cell phone number, our personal number, because you can call us anytime. And we're here for the people that elected us, the people that voted for us, and the people that didn't vote for us. We're here to serve you and, you know, just to help our community. And listen, we've all grown up here. We've all lived here. And we look forward to making it a better place to live for you and for us. So God bless you all. Godspeed. And thank you for the time. And I will pass it along. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman Simonson. So much of what you talked about and what you're advocating for resonates with Legacy and with me personally. I was an at-risk kid, right? I was a homeless kid, right? And Legacy has about 250 kids on any given day, right? And you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are in our different programs, right? And you know, there's a shortage everywhere, right? So it's just, we focus on health, education, right? Those key components of where we need folks. And so I don't know where the people that aren't working or what they're doing, but I don't know. All I know is we got to get kids educated and into the community and part of our society, because that's all we got, right? By 2030, more than 50% of the U.S. population will be over the age of 65. So we've got to rescue our generations of youth from the environments they're in order to help us move forward, right? So now we come to our esteemed representatives in the New Jersey Senate. Please welcome from the 2nd District, Senator Vince Palestina. Senator Palestina served in the New Jersey Assembly from 2008 to 2012 and was elected to the Senate in 2021. Currently serves on the Senate Higher Education Committee and the State Government Wagering, Tourism, and Historic Preservation Committee. Senator?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, and thanks for having me. Thanks, Marlene. Feel like I should be FaceTiming Jane. Jane's not here. It's just unnatural to be at the SJNDC without being here without Jane. So tell Jane we said hello, and Dr. Gaba, thanks for hosting the event. You always wonder kind of when you're going to these things what people would want to hear about. at an event like this. So I just wanted to give you a little update on some of the things that we've been working on. Obviously, you heard some of them. I think one of the great things here in Atlantic County, and you heard I served in the General Assembly for 4 years, and at that time, John Amadeo and I were the only two Republicans that were from down here. Everything else in South Jersey was basically Democrats. And so when I go to these events now, it's interesting because now we have 6 Republicans here, and we all work very well together until today when someone insulted Atlantic County. But we do work very well together. One of the things in Atlantic County, obviously, we've had split government here for a long time, and so one of the things, like with the mental health court you heard about that we've been working on, or the mental health court, is that we bring in different views. And so, like, one of the people we've been working with on the mental health court is Amy Kennedy, of course, former Democratic congressional candidate, big family here, of course, with her husband being a former congressman. And so those are the types of things that we're trying to do here in Atlantic County, is bring all voices together, making sure we're getting all different viewpoints. And we've been very successful with that, obviously working with the governor on some initiatives, trying to do the right thing for Atlantic County, for Atlantic City, for the region. And so we've developed excellent relationships across party lines with everyone, because I think that's one of the things we need to do, especially down here when we try to make the focus about South Jersey. We talk a lot of times about Atlantic County. Of course, we care about Atlantic County, and we are always focused on what is going to be best for Atlantic County. But it really does extend to South Jersey, and we try as a group, Republicans here, but we also have Democrats in South Jersey, of course, and we try to focus on making sure we are doing what we can with our colleagues across party lines for South Jersey. And what does that mean? Of course, Atlantic City, for me, is just a huge economic engine. And we've had 44 years of some progress in Atlantic City, some investment in Atlantic City, but clearly for those of you that go to Atlantic City, we haven't done the job. We have more to do. There are things that need to be done and challenges that we face in that city. One of the things we're working on, ties right in with legacy, of course, with the mental health challenges, with the addiction challenges, with the homelessness challenges we face in Atlantic City. Is we are launching the Hope Exists Foundation, again, bipartisan effort with the prosecutor, who's an independent, who we worked very hard to get in place in Atlantic County, and the Democratic sheriff, which is going to be a 7-day-a-week mobile outreach for the people of Atlantic City and the people that come to Atlantic City, because we recognize a lot of times that people need a hand up. You don't always want to get them involved in the criminal justice system if you don't have to, but if you can have a hand out to them and you can get them hopefully a path where they can get the help they need, one, it's going to point them in a better direction, and that's what Legacy is trying to do. And like you said, we need everybody pulling in the same direction on this. We went to the John Brooks mobile outreach event yesterday, and we're all pointing in the same direction. But you can get them help, get them pointed in a better direction, and also save money, because maybe they don't have to be involved in the criminal justice system. And so we think that is a huge initiative as we go forward to making sure we're doing what we need to do in Atlantic City. Of course, we need investment. We need more officers. We need it lit up. I would love to see, for those of you that go to Disney World, you remember when we were at Hollywood Studios and you go and you had the Osborne lights there and you were looking for Mickeys, and the Osborne lights at Disney World. We need things like that in Atlantic City. They're going to bring people here to do things other than gaming. And gaming, with all the competition now, it's not going to be the future. We need other things to do in Atlantic City, and we need it lit, and we need it clean, and we need it safe. And initiatives like that would tie into everything I think we need to have done for the city of Atlantic City. So we're going to continue to focus on that. I noticed the advanced air mobility on the tables. Of course, being here from, again, Atlantic County, the airport, a complete untapped resource. That is part of the future. And so we've done bills to allow for CRDA to collaborate with SJTA, and we have a representative, Mike Suleiman. Again, we work with him as the Democratic County Chairman and in his role at SJTA to make sure we're doing the investments with the airport. That is going to be something that hopefully we do the technology for the developing the technology here, and then ultimately the technology that would allow people to come to the airport, hopefully have an experience where they come to the airport, like Vegas, where you have, just fun as soon as you get there and you land, and then have some type of technology like this where you have these unmanned aerial vehicles that can take you from the airport over to Atlantic City, and then of course be able to route around Atlantic City. So that is part of the future. The aviation research park is part of the future. You know, one of the things we were successful at doing was getting funding for the next building at the aviation research park. We're going to have a groundbreaking this year for that. So there's one building there. Next building is coming. Ton of interest. You know, we have even NASA out there. You of course have the FAA in the building, and so there is a tremendous opportunity here to develop the aviation industry, to develop that airport, to bring people here, potentially do some cargo initiatives, and hopefully diversify the South Jersey economy. A lot of you have talked about it, and you know, I'm one of the dummies that served in the legislature for 4 years and then left for 10 years, and for some reason I went back. I know, people shake their heads. What in the world would you want to do that for? But I went back because when I was in the assembly, my kids were young. They were 4 and 5 at the time. Now, you know, they were older. They're now 16 and 17. And they were at a point in their lives as we started looking at educational opportunities and what they were going to do with their lives going forward. You look around South Jersey, and we don't have a whole lot of opportunities in a lot of areas. We've had the tourism industry, we had AC, you know, hopefully we're developing another industry with aviation. There's not a whole lot here for kids to do, and so kids are going to college and having more opportunities elsewhere and not coming back. We have to change that, and so if there's one reason why I went back to the legislature, it was for that, because I recognized, you know, I want my kids to be able to come back here, to be able to have the same opportunities that we had here. And I think as a whole, with everyone, that is what the focus should be for South Jersey. We have land, we have opportunity, we have ability, you know, with coordinated voices, with a coordinated message to hopefully bring more funding here, and we can do it. Now we have Congressman Van Drew as the chair of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, have tremendous relationships obviously in Washington, D.C., hopefully to bring some money here. And I see some engineers and some people from the trades in the audience here, because the other thing we need to do with that, yes, bring investment here, we got to figure out in this state as a whole, and my background as an engineer, we got to figure out how we can get shovels in the ground quicker on these projects. The time it takes and the uncertainty that people have trying to get a project done is just unfathomable. It prevents investment, it prevents the development, and it keeps people from wanting to do things in South Jersey. When you talk about the Pinelands Commission, when you talk about the DEP, when you talk about the local regulation, county regulation, multiple layers, a lot of them reviewing the same exact things, there's got to be a process where we develop one entity, you know, adopting all the ordinances, but one single entity being responsible for the review and approval of the project, so you don't go through multiple years in some cases, multiple reviews, so much time and so much energy wasted on getting same approvals from different agencies. And so in order to get people to work, in order to see things happen in South Jersey, that's another focus that we're going to have. And again, hopefully working with everybody, because we're not saying, you know, don't have the review. We're just saying make one entity responsible and make one entity adopt all the ordinances to make it happen. The other thing I just mentioned, how much time do I have?
You're out of it, but you're good.
You're good.
Damn, I can take clears. All right, last thing, because we have some people from energy here. Obviously, energy has been a big topic, but we gotta have common sense. I mean, we gotta have common sense in this state. We're not gonna have all electric by 2035, and you know, we've been hampered somewhat in this state. We've had, you know, our governors, both parties wanted to run for president for the last 12 years. Just a fact of life. It's one of the challenges we've been dealing with here in the state of New Jersey, is whoever's our governor for a long period of time wanted to be the president. And so California announces 2035, all of a sudden New Jersey announces 2035. It's not realistic. We need an all-the-above energy policy, which includes everything. Renewables, traditional, nuclear, you know, small nuclears, emerging technologies. It's got to be everything. We're not going to do it based on one technology. And so let's bring it all to the table and let's have a real conversation about how we produce energy in this state, because we know taxes are a huge problem. Property taxes are driving people from this state, and some of these initiatives, if we don't balance, you know, energy production and cost, are going to continue to exacerbate the problem in this state. And so let's have a real conversation and a real policy related to energy in this state. And so hopefully we can go forward and have those real conversations across party lines with everyone. So again, thank you very much for having me. Great to be here, and great presentation.
Thank you so much, Senator Palestina. We close out the event welcoming the 1st District Senator Michael Testa. Senator Testa was first elected to the Senate in 2019, was recently reelected in 2021. I'm convinced he only has designer suits, and that's the only way you're ever going to see him. He's always well-dressed and presented. Unbelievable. I'm sure you have sweats somewhere. Senator Testa serves on the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Judiciary Committee, the Joint Committee on Public Schools. He's also co-chair of the New Jersey Legislative Manufacturing Caucus and a wonderful advocate. Senator.
Roy, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I do have sweats. I will let you know that. Dr. Gaba, it's not lost on me that we're at Atlantic Cape Community College. The last thing that you mentioned, Roy, was that I'm co-chair of the Legislative Manufacturing Caucus. Dr. Gaba, we mentioned this last year when we spoke. I truly believe that a pathway back economically is through a partnership with our manufacturers and our community colleges, whether it's a one-year certificate or a 2-year associate's degree. Just so that everyone's aware, I see energy in the room, as Senator Palestina pointed out, and various other industries in the room. The average manufacturing job in the state of New Jersey right now with overtime is $95,000 a year. That's a real living wage in a state where we are overburdened with property taxes, where we are overburdened with infrastructure issues. You know, that's one of the things that I'm really hoping that Legislative District 1 and 2 can partner with our congressmen on now to fix a lot of these infrastructure issues that we see. You know, we see that tragedy that just occurred in Ohio, and I'm sure everybody has seen that meme of that bridge that is sort of being held together by chain and some other things. Well, you know what? That's a real problem in the state of New Jersey. Our infrastructure is old, whether it be in our energy infrastructure with our grid, or it be with our bridges and roads in Cape May County. I'll tell a little funny story. I was in office for about a week, and I went and met with then freeholder director, back when they were still called freeholders, Jerry Thornton, and I said, hey, what do you need? And he said, we need $550 million for county roads and bridges. And I said, is there anything else? But the fact of the matter is that we have a very large infrastructure issue, and our districts are very similar. To fix the Wildwood Boardwalk, I was told that it's going to be about $80 million. Atlantic City has a major boardwalk repair issue. Those are very huge economic drivers of our region. Legislative District 2 with Atlantic City is the #1 tourism tax dollar generator. Cape May County is the #2 tourism tax dollar generator in the state. So that's one place that Atlantic County does beat the district, but I will say I'd rather be in Cape May. I have to say that, I think. But in all honesty, you know, Assemblyman McClellan touched on that. And I just want to speak a little bit more about the manufacturing caucus. If we think about this, the Trenton Bridge says Trenton makes and the world takes. There are a number of manufacturers in this state that make great products right here in the state of New Jersey that we don't know about. We don't highlight them enough. But the fact of the matter is that when we have the highest CBT in the nation, when we have the highest tax environment, the highest stressed tax environment in the United States of America, and to Senator Palestina's point that we have the highest outward migration of citizenry in the United States of America, it's really hard to keep businesses here and even harder to attract businesses to come here. So that's our job, right? And South Jersey's kind of we're still waiting necessarily for our industrial revolution, in my opinion. I think there are so many opportunities right here in South Jersey between our 2 legislative districts. You know, obviously, Senator Palestina touched upon the airports and the redevelopment there and all of the companies that are there. Well, guess what? In Legislative District 1, we have airports in Vineland. We have one in Millville. We have one in Woodbine, and we have one in Rio Grande, where there's a lot of technology that can be utilized there. And I think that is a wave of the future. And we have also a lot of space for future manufacturers to move here. But we have to incentivize them to be here. You know, our coastal region is a dynamo for economic growth in South Jersey. When I look at South Jersey and people think I'm being heavily critical of our state, I am being critical, but it's only because I see the amount of promise right here in South Jersey where we're waiting for great people and great leaders like LD2 and LD1 to say, hey, listen, we need to step up, and then rather being in our own silos, not talking to each other, working together, pulling in the same direction to attract those businesses. You know, Assemblyman McClellan talked about the $650 million that was sent to Trenton from Cape May County alone. That's a figure from Diane Wheeland of Cape May County that was sent to Trenton. We got a paltry sum back, but we actually have a great bill. It's the Tourism Tax Reform Bill, which is not necessarily the tourism tax, it's not the tourism tax dollars, it's specifically hotel and motel room taxes, which raised nearly $16.3 million in 2021, and the county only received a little over $1 million back in fiscal year 2022 arts and history grants. By comparison, and we always kind of pick on Essex County, but it's because they deserve it. By comparison, Essex County only generated about $4.2 million in the same exact tax scheme, but received $8 million in grants, according to figures from the State Department of Treasury. That's a real problem. I mean, we have to stop that. And I'm looking at my notes because I can't possibly remember all of the figures. And I know that we have so many people that are in industry here. They want to know the real figures, the meat and potatoes about what we are trying to do, that we're not up here just being talking heads. You know, as far as the crime bills that I helped introduce yesterday, you know, I will say this, for far too long, the Murphy administration has waved away what I believe to be very legitimate criticism of our broken criminal justice system. I agree with Assemblyman Simonson. I agree with Senator Palestina. We don't want to unnecessarily put people in the criminal justice system that are suffering from mental health, that are suffering, you know, I've been involved in the drug court system since Judge Sanson, prior to him renaming it Recovery Court. I probably had one of the first private clients in drug court as a very young lawyer. I'm 46 now. I think I was probably 27 at the time when drug court really started in Cumberland County. And I remember when it was still a pilot program. Drug court has done wonderful things. We don't want to unnecessarily burden people who are addicted to drugs. And to your point, that we have so much young talent throughout our state, but that they're leaving. And unfortunately, COVID made us all pick up a lot of bad habits. And I think especially under our youth, they don't understand the job sector very well. They really just don't get it. I mean, I've even done, you know, interviews of people to come work in my office, and they're talking about, you know, can I work a 4-day week? No, our office is open 5 days. What do you mean? You know, you can't work a 4-day week. You know, or can I work remotely? I'm like, you're applying to be a receptionist. No, you can't work remotely. You know, and I know that's kind of funny, but we're getting like applicants. That's very real. And I was at a different event, and it disturbed me a little bit, where I heard people say, you know, the people who are the employers need to bend a little more to the expectations of the job searchers. You know, I'm a partner in a law firm. I really can't bend too much. If we have court that day, the associate needs to go to court. I can't, you know, there's really not, it's not negotiable here, you know? And you know, I have to be honest with you, I think we need to change the culture a little bit about getting people used to, guess what, there's a 5-day work week. And if you look at manufacturing, you can't manufacture remotely. So, you know, when I get the opportunity to speak at manufacturing events, they tell me I'm a breath of fresh air, and I think it's honesty. I think we have to engage in intellectual honesty. And getting back to the crime bills, you know, Governor Murphy released thousands of criminals early due to COVID. There was something that never happened before in our state called COVID credits. It was kind of a scary thing. There's some bad people were let out, and bail reform, while I think it was a great idea on paper, and this was done under Governor Christie, so I am being bipartisan in this, we found out that there are some flaws. So we need to fix those flaws in bail reform. There's some people that have gotten out early, and especially if you look at the uptick in car thefts throughout the state of New Jersey, people are getting out early, or they're being brought in and then released, and they're committing another crime the same day or the next day. This is a very real problem that we have to tackle. And there's also a major issue where adults are utilizing juveniles in auto theft rings and other types of crimes, they should be punished more harshly. I mean, this is common sense. And, you know, we talked about the pop-up parties. Assemblyman McClellan talked about the pop-up party in Wildwood. There's no way a police department like Wildwood can handle thousands of people descending on a town with complete anarchy. They can't do it. And 2 people needlessly lost their lives due to a pop-up party. And I will tell you, Mayor Marty Palugi from Avalon, he's a Vineland transplant, so just remember that. He's originally from Vineland. He sent me a video that was compiled of interactions between youth on the boardwalk, and it was throughout Cape May County. It would make your head spin. You can't believe how many times police officers were approaching a young person who was either drinking alcohol or smoking marijuana. And it wasn't, you know, excuse me, officer, you can't ask my name and you really can't do anything to me. It was, F you can't do anything to me. I mean, the language coming out of young people that was recorded is disturbing to think that they could get away with this. So obviously, this package of bills is going to help take the handcuffs off of our law enforcement, because that's what's really happened in the last number of years. And I can tell you that, you know, going on our great boardwalks in our legislative district, one time I had my 2 daughters with me, my son was not with me, and we walked through a massive cloud of marijuana smoke. I have to tell you, that's not a very family-friendly environment. And it wasn't at nighttime, it wasn't late, it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Something needs to be done. That's no longer the family-friendly environment in which we're trying to attract tourism. And I can tell you that, you know, I think that police officers should be allowed to question and detain youth that are obviously engaging in what is illegal and problematic activity. I mean, I could get more into detail, I'm here about this, but there's also another bill that Senators Panaccio and Singer sponsored, and it broadens the legal definition of riot. I don't know if you're aware, in Brick, there were about 5,000 individuals just descended upon the town. 5,000, that's a lot of people. And the law enforcement simply could not handle this many thousands of individuals descending on the small town. So if you're able to expand the definition of riot, they can be charged more severely. And what's happening is they're using their cell phones in either Snapchat or various other forms of social media to assemble. And what we heard from law enforcement, and this was done at a forum that we held in Sea Isle City, was it? In Sea Isle City, what happened with that H2OI fiasco in Wildwood was they cleared out of Wildwood quickly the first time and then assembled about 300 vehicles in a half hour to 45 minutes in Middle Township. That's a real problem. I mean, we know what they are using, and our law enforcement need the tools to be able to partner to prevent these types of things from happening and people just enjoying, you know, the safety of our streets and especially our vacation communities. So let's talk about the budget. I get to sit on the budget committee and I'll talk about how it pertains to education. I've been a harsh critic of the amount of pork that is in New Jersey's state budget. To give you perspective, Governor Christie's last budget was $36 billion. This last year's budget was $50.6 billion. That's immense. Now, for community colleges like yourself, Dr. Gaba, you think about this. There was a $300, what we call a Christmas tree appropriation for Rutgers University, $300 million. In additional funding. That's not the regular funding, it's additional funding, and it was for their sports facilities. And I've been a really harsh critic of the governor and Rutgers for saying, hey, wait a minute. What about Rowan? What about our community colleges? What about Stockton? Imagine if you were able to get a scintilla of a fraction of that money, what you'd be able to do with this. And Dr. Gaba, I'm a little biased for your college. Some of my close friends have gone through your culinary arts program and are chefs at various places, either in Atlantic County, Cape May County, and Cumberland County, and beyond. You know, you have an amazing program here that we all know and get to experience, not just in this building, but odds are if you're eating at one of the casinos, those chefs are trained right here. You know, one of my closest friends from high school is one of those. Oh, I don't need those that too much, thank God. But I like to eat a lot, so I will tell you that I utilize all of the culinary expertise that comes out of here. I utilize a lot more than the nurses. But yeah, you know, you think about all the nurses. You know, these are the things that we need to highlight, but there has to be some level of parity. $300 million for athletics. I'm a former Division I athlete. I believe in college athletics. But are we really spending our money wisely? Spending 300 additional millions of dollars to Rutgers when we could be helping out colleges just like this when we're coming out of the COVID crisis, coming out of the pandemic? I just think that it's a real problem. So just so you're aware, the $300 million to Rutgers included $100 million to renovate the basketball facility and to start work on an indoor football practice facility. There was $7 million for the New Jersey Performing Arts Center, $5 million for the Cherry Blossom Center in Branch Brook, $4.6 million for a park in North Bergen, $4 million for Union County's Clark Reservoir, $3.6 million for the visiting Lambert Cassadole Visitor Center in Patterson, and $3 million for the Brick City Peace Collective in Newark. I'm sure that those are all really nice, worthy causes. I've noticed a couple things. None of them are in South Jersey. So there is that inherent bias in favor of North Jersey. And none of them are going to our local colleges, you know, and that's what bothers me. But $300 million for an athletics program that really isn't performing up to snuff, I have a problem with that. I think it should be much more merit-based. So I have a number of bills for the budget. Lastly, I like beer a lot. Our local breweries, I enjoy going to our local breweries, our craft breweries. The ABC has really crushed another manufacturing industry. Our breweries are manufacturers. They supply a lot of jobs. They have a great distribution if they've upped their game in the last number of years. But think about this. They're only allowed to have 2 TVs at a local brewery. Does that make sense? They're only allowed to have a limited number of events. And if you've ever seen Assemblyman Simonson play a guitar and sing, if you haven't, you've missed out. Very talented. This is not funny. He's very, very talented. But if he goes to his local brewery, which is around the corner from his house, and sits on a stool and plays a guitar, that counts as an event. And they have to scratch that one off of their events calendar. That's ridiculous. We should be trying to help our manufacturers, trying to help our businesses. And I truly believe that there can be a partnership where all ships rise in the tide, because I can tell you it's the liquor license owners that are really against our breweries. Yet guess what? Every brewery that I've spoken to says, we always make sure that people aren't drinking too much, and we tell them, hey, listen, you can go down the street to this great tavern, get a great burger, and have one of our beers on tap at the local tavern. That's the way it's supposed to be done, and it's always done that way by my good friend at the Bellevue Tavern, Dennis Roberts. I always name him because he does it that way and he gets it. So there's so much that can be done to help the businesses that we have all over the state of New Jersey, but especially here in South Jersey. And I'm just looking very forward to continue to working with our legislative team this year and the LD2 legislative team, and hopefully that we all in fact get re-elected in November so that we can continue the good work that we've already established, because a lot of the work that we've been doing has been in that COVID era. Like, think about it, like you said, Assemblywoman Swift, you know, last year at this time our children were still wearing masks, right? Here we are, we're out of the pandemic, but we're still dealing with the ripple effects of the pandemic and all of those businesses. And if you think about what happened during that, 1/3 of all of our small businesses shut their doors permanently during the COVID era. We have a lot of rebuilding to do. And I think if we all band together and pull in the same direction, like Senator Palestina said, we can do this. Obviously it has to be done in a bipartisan manner. Survival isn't a partisan issue, right? Surviving in this state is not a partisan issue. It has to be done in a bipartisan manner, but we also have to make sure we have intellectual honesty and common sense when we're doing it. And I'm looking forward to partnering with everybody in this room to come up with solutions rather than criticism. So thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Senator Tester.
Thank you.
Gave him the mic.
As you can tell, I'm also a former LD2 staffer for the previous delegation. But nonetheless, it's great to be here, and I'm delighted to join my friend Gene Sullivan as the new co-chair of the SNJDCs. Government Affairs Committee. My name is Marshall Spivak. I'm a partner at the Advocacy Management Group. As I said, former LD2 staffer, former CRDA Deputy Executive Director and Chief of Staff in Atlantic City. Thank you, Senators, Assembly folks, for being here today. We do have a few minutes for a couple questions and answers. If you do have a question, just raise your hand. I'll call on you, and if it's for a specific senator or assembly member, just feel free to let us know.
I'd just like to bring up a small point. As a former councilman from Brick, that was Point Pleasant that had that issue.
I'm sorry. I thought it was brick. I apologize.
We don't have a boardwalk.
Any other questions?
I guess this would be for the assemblyman that's sitting on the Tourism Wagering Committee. Now that Assemblyman Caputo has announced his pending retirement, how do we get, or what can we do to get more emphasis on South Jersey in that committee? I know that you and your colleagues sit on that committee, but obviously the vice chair is from, I believe, Hoboken, not too close to our region. Is there something that we can do as an organization or as a group to try to get some more folks from South Jersey, perhaps on the other side of the aisle, get involved in that committee and help you guys bring that tourism money back here?
I don't know, Antoine, if you want to add to it. I think one of them is that we know that we're not using tourism dollars complete. It just goes back into the general fund. And so that we've created legislation that says that any money that's left over should be put in a fund that can be given back to each county to be used for tourism based on the percentage that they actually put in. So obviously Cape May and Atlantic would do well, or Ocean would do much better than others because of the amount of tourism we have. Ralph Caputo has been a good friend of mine. He's been a good friend of the industry. We did fight for 1 year pretty viciously as he tried to get casinos in North Jersey, but after that, you know, we're back on good terms. I'm sorry to see him leave. He's been good, and I think it's important to have a little bit better representation down here. After all, the gaming industry is based in our county, and so South Jersey should have another seat at that table. Antoine, sorry, said Sullivan.
So I've been on going on 4 years now. So what we have to do, one is if we can flip the governor and flip, you know, the power structure how it is, then we can get more South Jersey people on. At this point in time, not to make it a partisan issue, but they pick and choose who they want to go on. We wanted to go on obviously because we care about tourism, and you know nobody knows it better than I call him Mayor Guardian, even though he is assemblyman, but I just know that. But nobody knows tourism better than him, and he works it very well. I go to him for a lot of things, and he comes to me for nothing. But that's besides the point. But we just need to make sure that people care, and we find the people that care. So we're able to flip the structure. Then we know we can put people on that care because we'll have the ability to do that, as opposed to just having people on just to be on and not really caring. And even my first meeting, they were talking about the American dream, how the American dream is great and how they're going to do all these things for the American dream. And you see what happened. You know, they had a tragedy there. But also they don't promote down here. They promote to New York. They promote to other places as opposed to South Jersey. People in South Jersey will travel. We do a great job of promoting our places. And I don't think they understand that and they care about that. But if we can able to do more things and create a better unity, then they can understand that we can do a lot of great things in South Jersey, for South Jersey, and for the rest of the state. Because we're not all about South Jersey. We're about the state, but we care more about South Jersey, obviously. And we do it better here than anywhere else in the nation. That's better.
Any other questions for the legislators? Dave?
A lot of what was talked about by the entire team had either opportunities or concerns, and they involved law enforcement. Law enforcement right now has got to be a tough place to go. What does the congressional group plan to do about the problem with law enforcement, and who would want to be in conflict?
So I work for the Cape May County Sheriff's Office. There were laws that passed last year that allowed us to recruit other than a civil service list. So when you're able to do that, you get people from your communities. And the people from the communities are the people that should be policing those communities. You know, we encourage those because there was a problem everybody didn't know how to get to become a law enforcement officer or to become a fireman and things of that nature. And civil service was just albatross that everybody didn't know how to get to. So now that we can go out and recruit, we can get people in our communities and explain to those people that you don't need to have a college education to be a law enforcement officer. You just need to care about your community and do things in our communities. We have a lot of great people in our communities, and we're going to be able to recruit and do those things. And I think that will encourage more and entice more to come and be law enforcement and firemen.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll just ask a quick question. Based on the governor's recent 6-point plan on the energy infrastructure, right, and removing a lot of small businesses here, right, you're paying different costs and added costs based on the current energy crisis, spurred by a number of different reasons. But I wanted to get kind of the reaction from the 2 legislative districts on the governor's 6-point energy plan that just came out last week.
Thanks, Jim. Like I said, it's unrealistic. I mean, and you know how our politics are going in New Jersey now. You know, because we've had people trying to win presidential primaries for so long now. When California does something, all of a sudden New Jersey's got to do something. And so the 6-point plan is just unrealistic. It's just can't happen by 2035. And so we need to fall back. We need to get everybody into the conversation. We need to have a real, deliberative conversation about production and about cost, because everybody wants to ignore cost at this point. You know, they just want to keep pushing and forgetting cost. Guess what? Colleges like ACCC, as these costs get transferred to consumers, it is going to make the situation in New Jersey that much worse, because this stuff is going to cost a lot of money. And of course, as it relates to colleges, as it relates to schools, that ultimately is going to impact property taxes and make the whole situation worse. And so, you know, I think that obviously this governor now, running for president if Joe Biden doesn't run, and let's recognize he's trying to win a presidential primary, and let's take a step back and let's have a real conversation with everyone about, including, you know, our energy companies, about how we're going to produce the energy we need at a reasonable cost. Because when you look at what's going on in California, you know, if we become the California East Coast where they're changing people's thermostats because they don't have enough power to run their air conditioning, I don't think anybody in New Jersey wants that. We certainly don't want people, you know, remotely controlling our thermostats, because all of a sudden we can't produce the amount of energy we need. And so it's a huge discussion, huge issue, and hopefully something that we all can work together on. And thanks, Marshall. I'm so glad to see you in your new role as part of the team here at I always get it wrong. SNJDC.
This is a little unfair question for me, Jim, because you and I have had many discussions offline about this. You know, and this is why I said earlier that we have to engage in intellectual honesty. You know, since my early time in the Senate, I've said that the governor's energy master plan was the energy disaster plan, that it really hasn't brought all of the stakeholders to the table. You know, in our legislative district, the commercial fishing industry is huge. Well, guess what? I haven't seen an electric oyster schooner. I've never seen one. One doesn't exist yet. I mean, so he's talking about electrifying the state, and I called it the energy disaster plan when his goal was 2050. Well, if it was bad policy for 2050, how are we possibly moving it up to 2035? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And, you know, it kind of annoys me when I'm sitting in budget hearings and I'm thinking about New Jersey Transit. So, you know, I'm going to bash New Jersey Transit a lot right now because they deserve it. And, you know, New Jersey Transit is talking about having electric buses. You know what I need in Cumberland County? Buses. All right? And especially for the rural portions of my county, where are they going to be charging these buses? Right? Just get me some bus routes. You know, Senator Palestine and I have had a number of conversations with real stakeholders in the casino industry that we need workers, specifically from Vineland as a hub, to get to Atlantic City. There's actually casinos that are thinking of doing this privately for their own employees, rather than relying on New Jersey Transit, because New Jersey Transit has done such a poor job. Well, we have the pool of employees, and I've said to those private industry. I said, you shouldn't have to even invest in this at all. This should be a New Jersey transit investment, and we should be leaning on them. You know, talking about the energy infrastructure, you know, just to give everybody like a brief overview, 50% of our energy in the state comes from natural gas. 40% comes from nuclear. Think about that. 40% of New Jersey's energy portfolio is from nuclear energy. Most states, the average is about 19%. I can tell you that New Jersey's doing a good job. I think we actually should probably up the ante in nuclear. With modular nuclear reactors, that's probably a really good idea. I mean, there's Holtec in Camden County that's really leading the way in that regard. But 10% is other. How are we going to go with this 10% of other being either wind or solar or other forms to 100% by 2035? I'm here to tell you it's impossible. It's not economically feasible, and I don't even believe that the technology exists. So, I mean, when you're asking about this 6-point plan, I mean, it's fantasy land. I mean, it's an absolute fantasy. It's not real, it's not based in reality. It's not getting any of the stakeholders to the table to say, can you achieve this? If the technology doesn't exist today in 2023, how do we know that we're even going to be able to fulfill this dream by 2035? It's completely impossible. And that's where it gets to be really hard to be bipartisan, because you're negotiating with something that's completely pie in the sky insanity. It's not reality. And something that we have seen, you know, I'm tired of hearing that New Jersey should be modeled as the California of the East Coast. I want to be New Jersey. I'm proud to be from New Jersey. I think that we've done things as leaders for a long time. Why would we model our state after any other state in the United States of America when we're doing things right? Other states that I could tell you that are doing things wrong, Michigan was leading the way in getting rid of nuclear energy. Well, guess what? If they didn't have Canada exporting nuclear energy into Michigan, Michigan would be having brownouts right now. You know, Angela Merkel was heralded as a hero for shutting down all of the nuclear energy in Germany. Guess what's happening right now? We all saw Greta, you know, how dare you? I mean, you know, how dare you, Greta? She was, you know, she's been on television again because now Germany, after shutting down all of their nuclear plants, they fired up coal plants, the filthiest form of energy, because otherwise they're going to freeze to death. And if it weren't for the United States of America providing liquid natural gas, exporting it from here to there, they'd have other energy issues. I mean, so we have to be intellectually honest about what our capabilities are, and guess what? We're going to be burning fossil fuels. But even this administration is against renewable natural gas, a very, very, very clean form of fossil fuel energy. But for some reason, the Murphy administration is anti-RNG. So you have the industries that come to us, Senator Palestina, myself, and our assemblymen and women, and we say, well, how could you be against something that's renewable? That's where we are in this state. So, I mean, the 6-point plan, I mean, he could have made it a 500-point plan, and it doesn't make any difference because it's pie in the sky. I mean, it's like, you know, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I can't be more harshly critical of it because it's doubling down on what I originally called the energy disaster plan.
Thank you, Senator. I think that's all the time.
That was nice.
It's all the time I think we have for questions. You know, if you couldn't tell, I'm a Democrat, obviously. Senator Palestine is a Republican, but I think the great thing about an organization like this is, and I think you've heard it as a unifying theme amongst all the legislators, is it's all about South Jersey, and it's all about putting South Jersey first. And I think that's what we'll continue to do as a Government Affairs Committee. This is just our first event of the year. We have our first meeting coming up next Tuesday morning, which we'll do via Zoom. If you're on the Government Affairs Committee, you should have received an email about that. And we look forward to a very productive year advocating for our interests here in South Jersey. So, Dave. Go ahead, Dave. Yeah, just for you.
Senator, I want to thank you for what you just said there. It was great that somebody finally stood up and made those comments. The only question I have is, where do you stand on hydrogen hub? I spent many conferences with heads of every industry in South Jersey that you can speak of, who are all for the hydrogen hub, to bring the hydrogen hub to South Jersey. carbon emission. Every industry wants to run their facilities on it. And if you take something like South Jersey Gas, Atlantic City Electric, it goes on and on and on. Paulsboro Refinery, Amazon, for instance, right? Right now they're running their forklifts on hydrogen. Right? They want to run their entire fleet of trucks. Where can you go? We leave here if you don't see an Amazon van or a truck, and you're not lucky, right?
A lot of them show up in my, like outside of my house, like 4 days a week, yeah.
It's 100% carbon free, right? And also hydrogen is the most abundant element in the world, okay? The ocean, 71% of our globe, our Earth is water. They can take, through electrolysis, pull the hydrogen out of water and use it for multiple purposes, including injecting it into this natural gas and bringing the CO2 down to zero. So again, I'm not hearing enough people talk about it. I think it's the way of the future. It's been here for almost 100 years. It got shut down early on back in the 20s when the big oil realized that this was a threat, could be a threat to them. But I see that as much of a piece of diversity in our future as all the things you spoke about as well.
So I couldn't agree with you more. You know, Jim and I have spoken many times. I look at our energy portfolio as you would an investment portfolio. Right? You want to diversify your investment.
National safety as well, and national security.
Sure. I mean, and that's, you know, Jim, you and I have talked about that as well. I mean, I've had many offline conversations about energy. And, you know, again, when I say about intellectual honesty, let's talk about what's happening with offshore wind right now. I'll bring that up. I'll bring up the elephant in the room. If one whale had washed up due to offshore drilling, you would have had, I see I'm getting called for time.
You are.
It's okay. Can I have a minute or no?
60 seconds.
You got it. If one whale had washed up, you would have seen Jeff Tittle.
He's retired.
He'd still be out there. From the Sierra Club, and you'd have every other environmental organization holding hands around that carcass, singing Kumbaya and crying, and they would call for a stop. If it were one whale, it's been 10. It's been 10. We've all called for a pause on this, and we absolutely should be looking at expanding our energy portfolio. If hydrogen is on the table, I could tell you nobody from that industry has necessarily reached out to me. It doesn't mean that it's not a very viable issue. They should, they should be reaching out, and I welcome the call.
We're fighting New York right now. New York's
Thank
got hundreds of billions of dollars coming to New York for chip plants, batteries, you name it, right? Under the sun. We need your help. We're gonna need everybody's help. We can bring that to the tri-state area. The jobs, the economic stuff that we get from that is beyond the jobs, good paying jobs, clean energy. We need as much help as we can.
Thank you, Dave. Just to close this out, I'm going to call up my colleague Gina, who's got some some closing announcements.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Gina Sullivan with ELEC 825, the Labor Management Fund of Operating Engineers, Local 825. Just wanted to thank Senator Testa, Senator Palestina, Assemblywoman Swift, Assemblyman Guardian, McClellan, and Simonson. We appreciate your time and availability, and thank you for the support so that we continue to provide a dialogue between the business community and our policymakers. Again, we thank Dr. Barbara Gaba and Atlantic Cape May Community College for hosting us today, and to our other sponsors for their support in this morning's program, Legacy Treatment Services, PSEG Nuclear, and Stokes Creative Group. On behalf of Marlena Celta and SNJDC, thank you for joining us this morning and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.